Right.
And I'm serious about Australia. I only see one coverage.
Yeah, you're
of
nuts.
Australia.
I can't agree with you at
I don't
all.
believe anything.
Sorry.
I believe nothing, and I seriously don't believe when people say shit. I got to be honest, because people are delusional, and they're only going to operate from their own stance, right?
So-
and I see that every freaking day.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
That tie clip was issued in boot
All right,
camp.
everybody. Yeah.
Go ahead.
We are broadcasting live here from H2O Studios. That is Public Square. I'm Glenn Curry, and right in front of me is, of course, Josh Kirnie. Josh, say hi. It's been a couple of months.
It has been a little while.
Yeah, definitely. And there I am with my glasses. I'll take them off. I don't want to look like my dad. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But here we have a beautiful day. Just looking over Public Square. You can't see it, but on Peanut Park, off to the left-hand screen here, there's a huge display for, what's the name of that again? What's the Bass outlet?
LL
LL
Bean. Yeah.
So LL Bean is outside as we speak. But you know what? We're here today to have a special show. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Are we talking about baseball today or what?
I was going to open with baseball. We're going to talk about some
Baseball.
television,
Been very good
things
to
that
me.
you and I connect on very easily. Baseball and some television programming that I've been getting involved with, and also we're going to talk about different stages of development and where people are and how they make decisions.
Right.
And I'm going to sneak a little clip in here about the third rule of knowing if you're hypnotizable, because that's where we left off.
Oh, really?
And,
That's
and
fine.
See her.
All right. So, and you also have guests off camera here, but can we introduce?
They'll be on
who's
camera
actually-
shortly.
Okay, so that's Cameron and
Cameron.
and Holly.
Molly.
Molly, sorry about that, Molly.
So yeah, my intention was to put roots down in Watertown. I think this is one of the best areas in the world, and of course I love San Diego, and I love
San Diego's nice, that's for sure.
upstate New York, the Finger Lakes. But I don't know, there's something about Jefferson County and the river and the lake right here, and the weather and the people that makes me very comfortable.
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way, and in one way or the other, I think he did it with his slick NLP skills. Cameron convinced me otherwise, so now Cameron is the king.
Yeah.
King of
By the way,
NLP up
Cameron's kind of on camera behind you. I moved it a little bit, so.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
He'll
so
be on
that's-
camera for real in a second.
That's right.
So,
All right, yeah.
so that was the thing. And whenever you get down to the Midwest where it's a whole different group of people,
Yeah.
I am reminded in the extreme heat, you look fine, in the extreme heat of the summer in the Midwest.
So yeah, you've been in Kansas City, which is oppressive during
incredible.
July and August.
And then all of a sudden you wake up one morning and it's like 60 degrees and breezy and sunny in upstate New York, and it's the fall, and you're like, this is the best. And the people that are watching on Facebook Live were noticing, we're talking about Ted Simmons and how he got snubbed for so many years by the sports writers in being balloted into the Hall of Fame. And then all of a sudden the people that actually know baseball had him placed in the Hall of Fame.
Actual veterans.
That's the problem with the Hall of Fame, and that's why the Baseball Hall of Fame is crap.
All right, so let me just explain. I had an opportunity to interview Tommy John 3 times, one over the phone and twice in studio. He was just in my studio last week with his wife, who's from here. So there's a connection there. He loves this area and so forth. Very humble guy. So he's one of the top 7 pitchers of all time in terms of overall wins, 288. But because of his generation, because when he retired in the late 80s, 5 years later he was eligible. That's Tom Seaver, all scores of people that had been through the same time period that he was. Jim Palmer. The list goes on. Now I'm just forgetting. Blyleven was there. So all the litmus test to get into the Hall of Fame was 300 wins. If you did not have 300 wins in the early 90s, you didn't get in.
Yeah,
Today,
that's
now no one has 300 wins and they're getting in. So now the veterans, to your point, Josh, the veterans realize, hey, Tommy John did 26 years. He initiated the whole aspect of Tommy John surgery. Freaking thing's named after him, for crying out loud.
So my point was this.
Yeah.
We're talking about baseball because it's fun,
Right.
and we both love baseball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The thing is that there's no way sports writers should be judging ball players, just like ball players shouldn't be judging sports writers.
Yeah, you're saying there's no way sports writers should be judging ball.
No,
players.
I'm going to say something, and I'm not trying to be inflammatory here. I really do want to make this point, and we're going to move on to the next point in a second.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, in general, it's like outside of the industry. It's like if somebody was, I don't know, a triage nurse shouldn't be telling hypnotists what to do.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Right? And we should be telling nurses what to do.
No, I agree.
We don't, because if we do, we go to jail.
Right. Exactly.
So it's the same damn thing.
Well,
so to me, Jose Akendo,
Yeah.
who's got his own display in the Hall of Fame, should be a full ballot, a full Hall of Famer, because he played all 9 positions. I know he only batted .211, but he pitched, he caught, he played every single position in the field for the Cardinals.
That means the Cardinals were so bad they had a .211 hitter that was a utility player.
No, it means he was an excellent stopgap. It also meant that he could pitch effectively,
Right.
and it also meant, like, if you want to start about weak, the weakest.
Yeah.
I don't think any relievers should be in the Hall of Fame ever.
So
ever.
you're saying Rivera should not be in the Hall of Fame?
Eckersley. I'm talking about Lee Smith. I'm talking about all of them.
Oh my God!
Because they can't pitch past 1 inning.
No.
They can't do their job.
No, they have to be ready every day, though. They're not waiting 4 or 5 days
they're
rest.
They're pitching 8 pitches. It doesn't matter.
Rivera was the 1990s Yankees. Without him, they're not the 1990s.
Then they keep Wetland and they still win.
John Wetland.
I'm serious. No. So it's easy to use sports analogy.
That's
the point.
Yeah, we always use sports analogies.
It's good.
We're going to get to first base. Holy
right.
cow, I think he's going to make it. Stop
It's
right there.
that whole Meatloaf song.
Yeah. I want to know right now.
So again,
Yeah.
there's things that are qualities that need to be appreciated and only can be appreciated by the people that are involved in it and have benefited from it. That's my point. And I love the fact that Jose Oquendo has his own shrine in the
There you go.
Hall of Fame. But when it comes to imagine football, it's just the veterans that declare.
I did not know that.
I mean, they're the ones that pretty much decide who is good and who's not. These folks are both super Christians. Did you know that?
Oh, you're really good for
They're
you guys.
enhanced.
That's good.
Enhanced Christians.
Yeah,
There's 2
enhanced Christian
Christians.
Andersons.
And I'm all behind it. I'm all for it. Except for when it becomes a cult.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I tell you, I mean, recent switching gears here. Of course, they had some teacher or administrator talking about how those religious people are ruining the world, and then Steve Colbert had a little cartoon on his show. It said, "Oh, it's religion that's killing us. They're the people that don't want to get vaccinated." So,
well, according to our new governor,
attack.
if you're a good Christian, God wants us to be vaccinated.
Oh, I didn't know Jesus Christ was from Buffalo. I had no idea that but Jesus Christ.
He's from Cheektowaga.
Yeah. Oh, is that it? Is that Nazareth?
They get so upset when you confuse Cheektowaga with Buffalo.
So once Texas goes blue, we all go blue. Do you agree with that?
I'm not worried about that at all.
You're not worried about? Okay, gotcha. No, I am.
Well, you see that the people that are all for that kind of lifestyle, they cannibalize themselves.
Yes.
So
Yes, exactly. It's a good point. We are cannibalizing them.
Well, I'm not cannibalizing.
Well, no, you're not, but we're not in control. And those who are in control are cannibalizing ourselves right now. It's awful. It's a terrible time. It really is. And I don't know where it's going, Josh, but one thing is it's a perfect time for me to have a radio show because now I can really go off on all this stuff.
I know. You're pretty animated compared to how we used to do this, man. You're really on fire.
Well, there's a lot of things to talk about.
So I can't speak on the Many Saints of Newark, which I really want to because...
Did you guys see that? Not yet. Okay.
So because I've been watching lots and lots of Sopranos clips and really appreciating...
On Facebook?
David Chase's writing is incredible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And,
it's
he's got support
from
too.
a writing background. He's incredible. Mm-hmm. And I found another TV show with character-driven storylines that is also very, very good and also very scary. Now, remember...
What's the name of it?
Animal Kingdom. It's on TNT.
Okay.
It's also on Hulu. No, it's on Amazon.
I get confused with what is what, and I have Hulu.
So if you
and
go
I
on
have
Amazon
no idea
Prime,
what it is.
Molly, that girl looks just like you.
You might, it might be the Mirror Mirror episode of the original Star Trek. We might have 2 people here in the same place. And
so I'm actually gonna bleed this into a couple of things here that we're gonna talk about, and I do have to talk about the third indicator that you're hypnotizable too, because we have to.
Is everybody hypnotizable, for the lack of a better word?
In theory, if we were robots, we'd all be. If you could understand language, you can be hypnotized.
Okay. I
And
mean,
you
it
can
just looks like
accept
everyone is.
suggestion.
It looks like we're occupied France these days, and I thought that they were hypnotized to believe that the Nazis were a good thing. Is that what's happening here? Mind control. Cameron just said mind control is happening. Mind control is happening through big media or
That's not mind control.
Big tech. It's not mind control.
No, I mean it's
being
getting
complicit.
on the cusp. It's coming into the conversation, but you've got to control so many things to be able to control somebody's mind, including their sleep. And
Well,
eating
let me just
patterns.
add on a socialized. We're talking about being hypnotized. The new mandates and now the forcible measures that they're doing. If you're going to lose your job, you don't get vaccinated. You're going to lose your job. Is that a way of conditioning people? Are people, in essence, on a low level being hypnotized that way in your opinion?
Nothing's going to happen to you unless you allow it to happen. So that's still a part of hypnosis, too.
What if you're forced to do it?
Well, there's no real forcing anyone to do anything.
Well, there is, unless you lose your job.
Well, you lose your job, but you can still be alive.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's a give and take. You can be alive and be put out in the street because you just lost your job.
Well,
for 20
if you
years.
have a human condition of initiative, then you're not going to be out of a job for long. And the market's not going to be able to bear people getting kicked out of their jobs like that.
Do you believe that I believe that this is just the left will do everything to expose Trump supporters because they look at it as the unvax as the Trump supporters and those who have Christian values?
I mean, I'm sure you could find that message in there somewhere. I think it's in there somewhere, but there's so many messages trying to break us apart right now. It's too much.
Yeah, I know it is. We should have Cameron on a microphone.
We will in a second. There's too many messages right now. So
camera's on you.
So if you want to know the truth, people are gonna whatever relates to them the best, they're gonna find in a message. So right now there's thousands, even millions of messages happening every 5 or 10 minutes that you're coming across, and you're only gonna attracts likes. So you're only gonna see things that make sense to you that you can relate to, that are mirror images of what you're going through. So to think that there's one absolute mind control, that's impossible. What you're gonna find in those messages, no one's gonna find the identical message. They're just sending out general messages. And in my estimation, from what I've seen, because I don't pay attention to any of it anymore, really, is it's trying. If you can kill somebody's spirit, then they'll feel forced.
Exactly. That's a good point. You're killing people's spirit to I give up, no mas, no more.
That's right. But nothing can happen to you unless you allow it to happen. It's the same as hypnosis. If you're not a willing participant, and you can be convinced to be a willing participant, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what's happening in Australia, but I don't like what I see.
Yeah. No, you see enough that's going on in Australia.
Well, we don't know that that's happening in Australia because we're not there.
Well, no, but Josh, we do.
But no, we really don't.
How do you say that when the video is?
If you and I, it's video. That's how.
So you don't believe? Okay. Are you a proponent of this expression? Believe in nothing that you hear and half the things that you see? Is that what you're saying?
I believe literally the most deceptive thing can be first-person testimony in the world. If you don't have a camera on it, you don't know what happened. You can even put somebody on the stand, and everyone's delusional. You're only receiving so much at one time.
Well, but it is. I can get strong indicators that suggest at least that Australia is back to being a penal colony again.
It's strong indicators that they want us to think that. So if I right now had the disposable income to do it, I would buy a plane ticket for you, and we would go and broadcast from Australia.
They wouldn't let us in.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, no.
So they may or they may not. It's just what's being told to us.
Right.
So if you're going to eat the shit burger that you put in your mouth.
Well, no,
right?
it is true. It is true. One thing I did learn, it's right. I had this notion that the entire continent was under lockdown. In fact, it's only on the eastern liberal side where the majority of people live. On the left side, Melbourne, I don't know, Australia, apparently they're living life just like it's any other day. So
but listen,
you're right.
So when you don't have the basis of what our country was built on, I mean, from, again, this information that we're getting, which we don't really know. I mean, all I know really well is what I see and hear myself and then interact with.
Right.
And I got kids at home and I got business and we've got to run around and all this stuff.
Sure,
right?
sure. We have our lives.
So if you look at the way we've been fed this,
right.
First, they gave up their guns.
Yeah.
And then 3 years ago, they gave up their right to assemble.
Exactly.
So the police are actually justified in breaking up those demonstrations
right.
there.
Right.
Here, they're not, because
right.
we didn't give up our right to assemble.
Yeah, not yet.
I mean, they can tell us we can't assemble, but people are still assembling. They can tell us we can't have Thanksgiving like they did 2 years ago or last year.
Yeah.
But people are still having Thanksgiving.
Right.
Right? So it's just a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, if you follow the suggestion, you still have people yelling at other folks right across the street today, staying 8 feet away from them, wearing cloth masks that have no medical value whatsoever.
None.
But they're still doing it because they've been fed something that they believe, and they want to believe it.
So, okay, is that in a sense being hypnotized? That's my question.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay,
what we do, what Cameron and I do in our lives right now, every day,
right.
If you're living it the right way, you're always working. That doesn't mean you always have to be in a shirt and tie, by the way.
Yeah.
So, but
Cameron's in a shirt and tie.
He looks good.
Looks good.
He looks good. What we're doing is unhypnotizing people. They're opening their eyes once again to see that people can't force them to do anything, that they can make their own decisions and chase a brilliant outcome. So with that being said, the third thing that needs to be present for you to be hypnotized is you have to be successfully hypnotized towards your goal. Is you have to be able to level. If you want to use hypnosis successfully yourself, personally, you have to be able to be honest with what you're doing and how to change it inside of you. You have to be able to level. That's it. That's what it comes down to. So nobody can do anything to you. If you want to change something, it's nobody else's responsibility to change it.
What if you're someone who's just so strong-headed, which you know right away when you ask them a litany of questions, and you realize, okay, this person needs this in order to be hypnotized. what parameters do you see that would determine someone's inability to be hypnotized right away, and what do you do to make that to change that?
Let's call in the law of dramatic effect. What is stronger than what they want? Is it fear? It's not going to be love in that situation.
Well, someone who wants to quit smoking, for instance, because if he doesn't, he's going to die. So do you give him that fear tactic or what?
Well, I don't do too much of anything. If they have to come to us if they're ready or they think they're ready. So I kick people out. I only accept in about 35% of the smokers that come through the doors.
And do they get upset when
65%. Did I say 35%? I reject 35%.
You reject? Okay, so you accept 65 and you reject 35%. Do they get upset with you when you do that?
Well, I'm not mean.
Well,
So-
I mean,
I
be
form a connection.
disappointed.
Well, yeah, they might be disappointed, but then they can learn how to follow instructions. And I don't just tell them to pound salt. I say, well, I mean, you did okay. I did this with a gentleman the other day. He obviously didn't want to be there, even though he had COPD and he was only 56.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, some things are more important. He wants to be right. He doesn't want to be told what to do, and he turned me into his father, pretty much.
How so?
Well, he didn't want to follow any male instruction, and he told me about his trials and tribulations in his family when he was young. So he filtered information. Now, if I threw somebody else that was soft and female in there, she could fool him into becoming a non-smoker just by him chasing her approval. But that's not right either.
Well,
Right?
he would get the job done. He wouldn't die of emphysema.
Maybe, but as soon as he wanted something else from her, he would just start smoking again. Just to get her attention. That's my experience, and I've only seen like 2,500
Let me see if I can read that. In other words,
smokers.
if someone is resilient, rather resistant to getting hypnotized, you bring in a hot-looking, sexy girl, and maybe that might change his ways.
All things change your ways. That could be anything.
It would change my ways.
I could bring in a 70-year-old, obnoxious slob,
Right.
male or female, and they would change the way the temperature of the room. So we create a temperature in our connection, and then in that
But that's
connection,
not solving the problems. In other words,
the
that might be
connection's a big step.
Okay.
So you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
this connection with somebody, and then they feel comfortable enough once you put it out on the table what they're doing and why they're failing on their own, and without blaming them, with just saying this is just a natural thing.
Right.
You put it out on the table, and then they're like, yeah, and then they don't feel guilty about it. It's almost like you're shedding light onto like mold or mildew or something, and it dries it up, right? There's nothing for them to be ashamed of, and then they feel comfortable in following instruction because they know that there's only one goal, and that is to better their life with them, and they know that you can't do it for them.
Right.
This becomes more and more apparent with students, and Cameron will attest. I don't do it as much with him yet, but many times when I give instructions and they don't follow through with it, I just move on to the next thing, and they're like, well, what the...
Yeah.
You know how he says he doesn't tell people
Just
to
step up.
pound salt? Yeah, he doesn't tell that to. He does,
I tell him
definitely
to
says that
him.
to his students.
Yeah. I'll sell Cameron.
Because,
you've-
here's the point. Here's the point, Cameron. The point is that it's just instruction you paid me to give you. And you got lucky enough that you didn't just go off into the world with like, hey, look at all this stuff that I know. You actually have a place to operate, right? So I'm giving you instruction based on things that were worked that either I experienced or I was taught. And then I've been advocated with giving to you. So like, I don't just pull it out of thin air and say, let's see if I can get Cameron in a dress today.
Yeah.
No, but he definitely has a less of a filter with his students. Definitely has less of a filter with his students in a good way. I mean, you've told me, get out of your office. You're not my student anymore, and I've had to know ballsy on that quite a few times, and it only made me double down on why I was there.
Wow.
So remember
Interesting.
too, you react to things, information differently. If I said that to Molly, I mean, she would cry. If I said that to Deborah, she wouldn't talk to me for 2 months. I can never say that to those people, right? If I said that to Jackie, she would tell me to F off, by the way,
Yeah.
and she wouldn't go anywhere. But sometimes people need a
And
kick in the
what about
pants, and
Nova?
some people need to be hugged.
would
Nova's,
Nova do?
listen, if you guys modeled some of the things that Nova does as a student and where she's come from, you would be unstoppable. She's coming from a whole different place than the other three of you, And of course, there's lots of stuff she needs to work on too, right? But she has skills that if you modeled some of the things she was doing instead of saw yourself 2 steps ahead of her, which you are in a lot of senses, if you took some of that energy that she was using, I mean, dude, you could have anything you wanted. You'd already have 16 stage shows under your belt.
Yeah.
Because she takes she has qualities that you won't even notice until you get farther down the road in this stuff. Anyways, you have to be able to level. You have to be honest with the fact that you communicate a certain way and I communicate that way to you. And that's it. I mean, if you're somebody different, I would
And there's
communicate a
something to
different
being
way.
Marines too, where we tend to be a little bit more. Marines tend to be a little bit more blunt in our communications.
That's
Yeah,
right.
sure.
a little bit more tough love. It's
So-
just coming
Yeah.
naturally to us.
So in a second, maybe you
Yeah,
should
that's
you
good.
could describe leveling. I'll have you describe leveling. I do want to touch on this TV show a little bit too, because this is important. The good writers actually help us. Like we have a reading list and a movie list for a reason. The good writers actually help us. Cameron, your girlfriend's giving me the hairy eyeball right now.
Uh-oh, not good.
I think it's her turn to be up on the mic.
Maybe.
Yeah, perhaps.
Oh, well, we're going to be careful with that.
Yeah. No, we could set it up. I mean, we can do I would just need a couple of seconds, that's all. So anyway, all right, so
So listen, Animal Kingdom. Glenn, I really
that's
want
the TV show that you were referring to.
It's just amazing because it's, really good works come from one of three places. The theme,
Yeah.
like the plot theme,
Yeah.
the character, or the dialogue. Like you have David Mamet, who's awesome, and he comes through dialogue. So everything moves through the dialogue. And
Who's he? I have no clue.
He wrote Glenn Ross.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And Red Belt and a bunch of other things.
Coffee's for closers.
That's right. Sit down.
Yeah.
The Machine. So they just did that on Broadway again, and Al Pacino actually played Shelley.
Did he really?
Yeah, The Machine, the guy that stole the leads.
Jack Lemon's character.
That's right.
I couldn't get through that movie with Jack Lemmon.
I
Sorry.
really like that satir model. Though. I liked how she described, like verbally described, also what it's going to feel like per stance.
Right.
When I watched
And
it,
remember,
it really
that's
stuck out to me,
evolved
the way
culturally, that Scott and Heather have evolved that. But that's the root of the placater. We actually shot a placater clip for our YouTube channel for an instructional thing, and the microphone stopped, it failed. So I have Jackie on there doing the right thing, and then you can't hear shit.
anything.
Yeah,
Wow.
you can't hear anything. So the thing is, Glenn, I really want you to watch Animal Kingdom if you can get into it. There's a little bit of blood. There's some gay stuff in it that's kind of uncomfortable. But
What network is this on?
TNT, but it's on Amazon. You can watch it on Amazon.
Okay, gotcha.
And Ellen Barkin is in one of the main
Ellen
characters.
Barkin, yeah,
She's
yeah.
old as hell, man.
Yeah, she does. She hasn't aged well.
So it's this family, and they just
And
revolve around.
Angie, I always thought she kind of looked like Angie Dickinson, but Angie Dickinson aged a lot better than her. Anyway,
No,
go
Ellen
ahead.
looks better than Angie Dickinson.
Well, yeah, but Angie
She's
Dickinson's
thin,
like
she's-
105.
So Ellen's like 68. So it's just she has this group of boys, and some of them are adopted, and one of them's her grandson, and they just come from the other side of the law. And what they do is they take scores, and they surf, and they do drugs. But it much like, remember that really cool episode we did, which was my favorite, on Keeping Up with the American Family, and I talked about the death of the American father?
Yeah,
This was the death of the mother as a figurehead and how things went into chaos. So their family's in chaos at
Well,
this
it's a
point.
matriarch family, like Ma Baca or something.
Right, and she was manipulative enough and saw the long game far enough to cut up and create maturity dramas between the boys and not allow connection, so she could control everything. And now she's gone, and now all the control is gone. Right?
Oh, so her character's dead? No
She's just
Ellen
not.
Barkin.
I don't want to ruin it for you.
Oh,
She's
well,
just
it
not
doesn't
in the
matter.
show. She's in and out of the show. So, I mean, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant, and you really have to see how people will go to the path of least resistance. The easiest thing to do is not be honest with yourself. The easiest thing to do is not be accountable. However, when you're accountable, when you're truly leveling with what's happening, you don't have to tell anybody else, right?
Right.
And you get to have anything you want. So when you level, you accept all the suggestions that's right for you. You know how to implement it. You know where you're weak, and you're never strong anywhere if you look at it from a certain perspective. Everything you do, somebody else does better. Is more effective, gets the better result. And that's not to say that everywhere they get a better result, but with the things that you want and the things that you do, there's somebody to model everywhere. When walking across the street, people walk across the street but are brushing your teeth, right? Or sitting and focusing on somebody and using space, the space between thoughts, which is something that you might want to do next, using the space in between thoughts to your advantage. Those pauses are huge. So being able to level is the third thing I want to focus on, the third factor of being able to be super hypnotizable and get what you want. Now, Animal Kingdom, you have had, Cameron, I'm going to have you come over here, and I'm going to switch with you here in a second.
Yeah.
But real quick, you have had ample opportunity, to just walk. How easy would it be with the people you've seen being trained? And you didn't even see, she saw, but you didn't see the first two sticks, the first two big groups of students that I had.
There we are. Yeah, step up to the mic.
And no matter who they were, they had plenty of excuses to not do or to do what they did. And there's one who she knows well enough, that literally stole our information. Two people that stole our information and set up their own shops.
Really?
Look at the Old Testament. Every single person has made the mistakes that you can equate to every single person around you has made. Right? And then you can see how easy it is to heal them through those mistakes, to have them heal through those mistakes. So that should give you an incredible sense of peace. But the only reason you haven't walked is because you like a challenge. And I think that you can see the upside of this. And what I want you to focus on is, as Scott mentioned to you on the phone with me, you want to build a huge group of people that you can help in your mind. You want to see them in your mind.
Is that what we're talking about?
The more you can connect to people and help them and level with what they're going through, help them level with what they're going through, and really experience what they're doing and helping them through it, the more that you can have luxury.
More than you can have luxury because people are willing to pay for this. Is that? I mean,
Well,
it doesn't come free.
you're being rewarded.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's a byproduct of the connection. The connection's always the strongest thing.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to be clear that we're not being Mother Teresa, that this is all part of capitalism. Like, if you're a professional, you can help people's lives, you should be,
Sort of. It's part of dovetailing. So if you get something, they get something, they get something, you get something, and it's equal.
Right.
So I want to talk about Animal Kingdom a little bit more.
Have you ever heard this show at all, Cameron?
Nope, I haven't heard.
Listen, I was
I
sitting.
heard at Animal Farm, of course.
I had injured my lower back slightly lifting weights, and I was spread eagle in a king-size bed in Platte City, Missouri, feeling like crap, right? Like my glutes are killing me, right? And I was on the phone with Michelle, and this show came on, and it was brutal. It's literally the most brutal things. These boys are brutal. They're men now, right?
Yeah.
But they're brutal, right? This is what happens without nurturing and without leadership of the dad. And the dads are all treated like they were in and out, right? Because there's no way the mom was going to let them run this. So she kept them wild animals, like where the wild things are. And I'm talking about all of it. Anything you could think of that's compulsive. And they're smart, but they're also compulsive.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Cameron, we learning anything right now? I am. I know you are.
But it has a more balanced structure.
Do you see how that makes it fit in how you'd want to steer what you're doing in the clinic up on Washington Street, how you'd want to steer that towards the community? I mean, you've already started with the Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure people want to be a member of a place that really cares about them and what they stand for, and also gets them out of the compulsion that allows them to kind of stick out like a sore thumb. People that have these behaviors that hang out, they do feel like outsiders. Smokers feel like outsiders right now.
Right.
And
Literally. Every time I see a smoker, he's outside.
yeah, they're 50 feet from the door.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
And they're
you
not-
remember, but I don't remember when everyone used to smoke indoors, but I'm sure you saw that.
I
back
do,
in the
yeah.
day.
I
You
used
remember when
to
people
smoke
smoked
indoors.
They still do in Arizona.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I watch people on TV that smoke in their living room. I'm like, man, that must stink.
Yeah, no, it's bad.
Oh, the whole house
I'm
smells.
glad that, first of all, I used to be a smoker, 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day. And yeah, we used to smoke inside. I remember smoking on a bus and in a plane to Barbados.
I smoked in a plane in Japan.
Did you really?
I had to fly from Iwakuni or Hiroshima to Tokyo.
Hiroshima. Talk
Yeah.
about smoking.
I used to smoke these Sopranos cigarettes from Indonesia, and when I came back to America, I'm like, I don't like these here, and I just stopped.
You just stopped.
It just wasn't part of the culture you were in.
Yeah, it was. And then once I got here,
It's-
the price. I was.
Do you see
the
the pluses and negatives, the pros and cons to being membership based?
Yes.
Did I ever give you a speech
Well,
about
you
how
can see it with different cultures. Different cultures value membership more.
Well, it's it's what
in
membership,
Asian
right?
culture.
Push number
membership's
4 up.
valid-
Push number
valued a
4
lot
up.
more.
Way up.
The problem with membership here,
4. No, one next to it.
the problem with the membership here is that people need rules. So if you see the way that the trainers interact with each other, there's 3 or 4 membership-based people in our group, and they'll live and die by the rules. So if you get someone hyper membership-based,
Right.
they'll kill you if you break their rules. Like, for instance, so I did some guerrilla marketing in a phone bank that thinks that they're super important because they have like 4 DOD accounts. I did with Jackie. And I had an idea what was going to happen. And, every time I interact with you guys, even now, I'm pushing and pulling to see where you're going to become more compulsive or more membership-based and get locked into something, or you're going to stay more flexible and be able to operate with all different types of people, even the compulsive ones. Can you see the qualities in people? And he gets so mad at me when I talk about the Yankees.
They're starting in a couple of minutes. They're playing Toronto today. It's a crucial weekend, of course, guys. This
How's
could
it
be
crucial?
Well, it's crucial because they lost last night. And if they lose again today, and if Boston wins, then they're tied. And then tomorrow, it's
Neither
1978 all
Boston-
over again.
Neither Boston or the Yankees have any chance.
Not to
winning the
mention
World Series.
Seattle Mariners have come out of nowhere and they're in the mix of things, middle of things now.
None of those teams have a chance to win.
It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
You got to get into the playoffs. That's why you played the game.
No,
they were who
there's
they
no
thought
way.
they were. We thought we were who they thought they were.
Look at
Dennis
me, but
Green,
what
and that was
goes
when he
on.
coached the Vikings, right?
Yeah, he was with the Vikings. He's unfortunately he died a couple of years ago.
Well, when you're overweight and you have bad habits, and you're in the late 50s, that's what happens.
Wow.
So he coached the Northwestern team that had set the record for consecutive losses in the 70s and 80s. He pulled them out of that.
Did he really? He was a good guy. I like Dennis Green.
So
I couldn't quite understand. We thought they were who we thought they were. Some people kind of have a problem with that. Is that a Yogi Bearism, or
no, I think
is there a
that's
lot
great.
of validity
No,
to it?
that
I guess
means
there is.
He game planned. They
Yeah.
played the game plan. The guys didn't make the plays, and they
Right.
lost the game by just a few to a really good team, I think.
Yeah.
If I remember, it was like 49ers or the Cowboys or something. So here's
Couldn't have been the
point.
Cowboys.
Here's being able to appreciate the doer rather than condemn them for the deed. This is when hyper Christianity fails. So you can see the qualities in the person that can help them be somewhere. This is what's key with the 4 backgrounds you have in the group that I've chosen to keep 4, right? I mean, I was really hard on Jackie before I accepted her in. So you can appreciate everything going on in people and at the same time tear up their bad behavior, their compulsions, while appreciating them and knowing that they have qualities that can move them one place or the other. So if you get too locked into membership, you get too locked into freedom, which I'm pushing you into freedom more, right? And one point you were super self-expressive, and you're not that self-expressive anymore. It's okay for women to be self-expressive, by the way, right? So if you get too locked into one and you can't do all 5, you can just move it around, and you can be more flexible. The more flexible you are, and the more you can level with the fact you need to be flexible, the easier everything becomes.
Cool.
So that's what I wanted to touch on today. Molly, do you want to be on camera? Come on.
Molly doesn't want to be on camera.
No, separating the doer. This turned into separating the doer from the deed because people need to be accountable in order to be truly able to be helped and hypnotized, right? And you can get to a point of agreement. Some people are stubborn and don't want to give up their position, or don't want to be told because they had countless people trying to tell them what to do when they're young.
Yeah.
And then you have groups of people that think that there's one righteous way,
Right.
and they're not doing it, they are doing it, and that's not flexible enough. But being accountable for what you're going through allows you to move into other places. And when you see people can potentially be accountable or not be accountable for what they're going through, they're still a person, and then they're a person doing something. So being and doing, the doer and the deed are 2 different things. And this bleeds into another topic that we'll do some other time called top dog, underdog.
Top dog, underdog.
Which bleeds into the visual squash when you put things back together, right? So you want to separate the doer and the deed. You want to separate the doer and the deed. And just give them hints on how good it feels for them to be personally accountable so they don't have to show it to other people. You and I will always know when they're doing it. Eventually, you will always know when they're doing it, right? Because they're not blaming. But then when people are personally accountable, they can have the results that we've been talking about. You can have those results. You can be accountable and be able to follow instructions and be able to relax your body and know what that feels like and be unhypnotized from the messages that we're getting bombarded with. Well, some of us are getting bombarded with. You know what I watch on YouTube is either I watch the numbers on our channel go up and up and up because everybody's watching more and more, or I'm watching old Soprano clips. No, really.
Oh, you're a Travolta fan?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not?
I don't think I've ever seen a movie that I liked.
Welcome back. Wow, wow. Sorry.
He might have stopped caring, but Tony Manero, I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
Tony Manero. Yeah. Great
Oh, my
great
God.
performance.
No, Staying Alive. I love
yeah.
Staying Alive. His character.
Wait. Do you like Staying Alive or the original Saturday Night Fever?
I like the original a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But that's another great underrated character. Like those character-driven films, I
Yeah.
get no credit.
Right.
These guys actually have development in there.
Right.
I mean, there's all kind. New York I don't
Yeah.
know, but New York in the late '70s to me just smells dangerous.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't want to be there.
Yeah, it's Bay Ridge.
They used
too.
to give away those flyers that says "Take care or die" in New York.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
The cops used to hand.
Right.
There's nothing. I mean, from what I've been told, I was too young. There was such chaos.
Well, it's interesting because Gene Siskel considered that movie his favorite movie. It was a coming-of-age movie. It was the original Seinfeld. It was something about nothing. It was a bunch of teenage kids from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, going to Odyssey 2001, a dance club, and just doing mischief. And one kid falls off the Verrazano Bridge, and he's trying to fall in love with an older woman who's working in Manhattan. So it's a story about nothing, and it got panned for that. But it's one of the best movies made in its
The
time.
thing about the tango is complete leadership in the exact sense that we lead people through mentorship in the clinic, out of the clinic.
Possibly be for
And
everyone.
it's
So
just
in a
one thing.
vacuum, like in
And they have
theory,
to
it's
follow
for
through and
everybody,
given-
but not
given
everybody
a
puts themselves in a
bracket of
position
suggestions.
where they can accept.
You have to have a bracket of possibility that you can move within. So it's not like it's not a straight
rigid. You always
jacket.
give someone 3 suggestions on which. And
Well, that,
choose
but
what.
you have
what
to let them
adjective.
open up and then see what they're going to do next, and then move them more to their goal. And that's exactly what the Argentinian tango does. So it's not the American tango is like stiff and rigid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the
It's
Argentinian
night and day.
tango-
They don't even look like each other.
Yeah, it is the doer and the deed. You keep your focus on what you can change in yourself and your perception, and what others can possibly do in front of you. Keep that connection. Be accountable. If you can level with yourself, then all these messages that are floating around us, they don't affect us at all.
Right.
And I'm serious about Australia. I only see one coverage.
Yeah, you're
of
nuts.
Australia.
I can't agree
Well,
with you
I
at
don't
all.
believe anything. I believe nothing, and I seriously don't believe when people say shit. I got to be honest, because people are delusional, and they're only going to operate from their own stance, right?
So-
And I see that every freaking day.
Yeah. Well, no. I'm very gullible, Cameron. I mean,
I don't think he's gullible at all. I'm not trying to insult Glenn at all.
No, I'm
not
very
trying to
gullible.
insult you.
If you told me that there was a missile showing up here, I'm like, well, I got to get going right now.
Well, it depends on who said it.
All right, listen, Cameron, thank you very much. And this concludes today's. What did we call today's show?
It's stuff we have to delete.
Yeah, the delete show.
The show.
Yeah, the show that we're not sure has
Get
any
Real
content.
Podcast. Get
Yeah.
Real Podcast.
Get Real Podcast.
10/6/2021.
Guys, we'll see you soon. Great show.
Yacht.